Friends, thank you so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. This is a version of my The Five series where it's the Criterion edition. And I am looking forward to today the opportunity to talk with my friend James from 20th and 21st movies. So James, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate you having me. Absolutely.
I know
It's an
you were
exciting time of the year.
absolutely, you got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the Criterion sale. So
Yes.
all at once. Now, I know you are a massive Criterion fan, and I loved watching your series where you went through your entire collection this year.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
enjoyed that very much. So I've been looking forward to the chance to talk Criterion with you. Now, before we dive into Criterion, I do have two Criterion questions for you before the five, but I also watched your recent John Wick 4 trailer reaction video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am a massive fan of the John Wick series, and
Yeah.
I love the trailer. It looks like it's going to be just right in line with the last few of them. So
Yeah.
my question for you, you said you're a big fan of them. How would you rank those films?
It's hard to say. I would say I definitely enjoyed the first one. And for me, I would say I would put the first one at the top. Maybe, well, that's a great question. I would say that I would put two and three ahead of one because
Mhm.
I do appreciate how one set the foundation, but I do appreciate how they have sort of built on that world and let us know a little bit more about this world of assassins over time. So
Yeah.
the first movie, there was a lot more mystery around that, whereas they started to reveal a little bit more around, that whole world of these assassins and the rules that they have to live by and
Hmm.
the consequences of breaking those rules and what does that mean. And so, it's really been interesting following this series, but I've really been enjoying it, and I've learned to stop counting the body count because it's just you just lose count. It's just crazy.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. I mean, it's almost like just watching a video game. Is so crazy, but it's a lot of fun watching those movies. And I'm looking forward to the fourth one coming out in March for sure.
Yeah, the body count is unbelievable, and they're just so creative at inventing new ways to kill people. The
Right.
horses in the last film, like it's just unbelievable. There was an NBA player in the library at the beginning of the film.
Right.
Um, and my wife, when I came home, she has no interest in those films. She's
Oh,
more of a
okay.
rom-com kind of a person.
No
Um,
violence. Yeah.
yeah, no. So I came home, I watched the second one with a friend of mine, and when I came home, she said, "So what did you think?" And I was like, "This sounds so weird, but it was the most beautiful violence I've ever seen in my life. Like the
Yeah.
colors and the choreography."
The yeah, it's beautifully
Yeah,
choreographed. It's very artistic,
very.
and yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sort of it's very well done, very well staged.
Yeah.
You know,
And Keanu
and
crushes
it's not real, so you're able to sort of just suspend disbelief a little bit and just kind of go into it and just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in your video it's very popcorn, and you can suspend belief. It's not like if you watch a horror film where there's people dying. This is just so cartoonish and comic book like.
So over the top, yeah,
Absolutely. That's so
yeah,
great. So anyway, I'm really excited for number four as well.
yeah, yeah. Me
Cool.
too.
All right. Well, I got two Criterion questions for you before the five. The first one, I'm watching probably like yourself, all these haul videos, Criterion haul videos. What was in your list for this sale? What was like maybe a title that was right around the top for you? Like, if I got one film in this sale, it's got to be this one.
Well, it's one that's coming up. That's coming up Thanksgiving week, Malcolm X. So definitely looking forward to getting that. But in terms of one that I've gotten so far, it definitely is this one here, Eve's Bayou, that I picked up, very recently, that I've seen pretty recently, and did a review on my channel. This is a film from Cassie Lemons appeared in with Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs, and so she was an actress. She got into directing. This was her feature film directorial debut, and it is this film. I had never seen this before, and it stars Samuel L. Jackson, Lynn Whitfield, and Journey Smollett, and Megan Good. and it is absolutely wonderful. I mean, this movie is so nice. It's like a coming of age story set in the bayou of Louisiana in the 1960s, I think. And it's a very complicated family. Samuel L. Jackson's a doctor, and he's, providing medical services in the community, and he's a bit of a philanderer. So he's, you know, basically cheating on his wife with some of the patients, and there's a lot of complicated relationships going on. And at the heart of the story is Journey Smollett's character. She's a young girl in this film, and she witnesses some things that are disturbing for her. And it's just a very well written, well told story set in the Louisiana Bayou. And I really enjoyed this one here. It's East Bayou. It really surprised me. This is one I definitely wanted to pick up when it was announced a few months ago, and I was definitely not disappointed. It's so, so good. East
Cool.
Bayou.
And it's
So
always
good.
a good thing having more Samuel Jackson in the collection. So that's
Oh
not a
yeah.
bad thing.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I really one of the things I love about Criterion is just learning more about some of these filmmakers. So is not only getting exposed to a lot of these different films, but learning about these filmmakers and their stories and their whole approach and philosophy to film. And so Casey Lemons, and of course I called her Cassie Lemons, but I saw in one of the interviews she referred to herself as Casey. So I was like, oh, okay, that's Casey Lemons. So um, she talked about what influenced her to become a director as she went into filmmaking. And she started in Silence of the Lambs with Jodie Foster, or she was a supporting cast member, but she learned a lot from Jonathan Demme, who was the director of that movie. And she talked about what she learned from him and what she learned from other filmmakers, and just the influences of going to her grandmother's house as a child, and that being inspiration for this story. And it's just really interesting going through the special features, going through the supplements, and learning about the filmmakers themselves and who are these people who give us these stories. So really, really dug that.
Nice. That is a great thing about Criterion. If you just want to watch the movie, you can just watch the movie. But if you want to get
Yeah.
full education on the film, on the actors, the director, history, you can get all of that too. And so
Oh
that's really
yeah.
one of the benefits of Criterion.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. For sure.
All right. So last question before the five is 2.5 years ago is when I started collecting Criterion. So I've got probably about 70 now. I've got a decent little collection. But I remember when I started, I was going on like Criterion message boards on Facebook and just saying, what are your recommendations? Where would you guide me to go in my very first Criterion film? And I got some great recommendations, picked one up, loved it. If someone's watching this and they're kind of like where I was 2.5 years ago, of they're watching all these Criterion videos and they're wondering where to start, is there a particular film that you would say, great starting point if you're going to start? That's maybe the one you might recommend.
Yeah, I would say that, it really depends on, so much of it depends on what type of a film fan that you are. I mean, a lot of people like, there are some film fans who love movies, but they love more contemporary films. So they, I like movies, but I don't want to see any black and white films. If it's
Mm-hmm.
something before 1960, I'm just not interested. And then you have some people who love a lot of classic films. So I would say if you're the type of person that you like a lot of more contemporary films, then films like The Breakfast Club, films that are more mainstream type films. The Breakfast Club, Fast Times at Ridgemont High is in the Criterion Collection. Tootsie's in the Criterion Collection. So those are some films that are more mainstream films that a lot of people are familiar with, and maybe a nice entry point to see movies that they're maybe familiar with, but then also get the Criterion treatment of seeing the supplements and the whole package that is in a Criterion release. But if you're open to like more foreign cinema, then maybe check out Seven Samurai, the Kira Kurosawa, or the 400 Blows from Francois Truffaut, or a Fellini film, and dive into some of that foreign type cinema. And the good thing is that there's so much variety in the collection,
Yeah.
ranging from the high art, sort of artsy fartsy type, highfalutin, so to speak, films, to your more mainstream titles, like for example, The In-Laws, which is a comedy, film that's in the collection, or it's a mad world, so it's a really nice, variety of different types of films. So there's, something for everybody, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Great. Great recommendations. Great advice.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for the five?
Let's do it, man.
All right. First question for you, James, is what Criterion film have you most recently seen?
Okay, so I have, in terms of seeing in their entirety, Eve's Bayou, which I just named, is
Mhm.
definitely one that was really blown away by this movie. And so that's one film. And then another one is Daisies that I've seen in their entirety. This is a film that is from director Vera Chittilova, and it's from the Czech New Wave. It's from 1966. Is that right? Yeah, 1966. And it's basically a film from the Czech New Wave, and it deals with these two young ladies who are both there. It's Marie one and Marie two. They're both named Marie in the film. There are two young ladies who are basically, social outcasts who are going around doing pranks on people, throughout the city, so to speak. And it is a very colorful, artistic, beautiful film to watch, but it doesn't follow a typical narrative or plot, type of a structure. It's more of these two characters. You're sort of dropped into the world of these two young women as they, go about, wreaking havoc, throughout their city. So it's really interesting. It's sort of experimental type filmmaking,
Okay.
and I really kind of enjoyed it for what it is. It's a very artistic film in terms of the way it presents its imagery and the way that it experiments with colors and framing. So
Okay. I've not seen it. I'll have to look that trailer up later.
yeah,
Check that out.
but yeah, I did a review. I did a review of both of these titles recently in a live stream. And it's one of those things where, these are two films from two women directors. And I really enjoyed both of these films. And it's an example of, what I was talking about before, whereas Eve's Bayou is more of a mainstreamy type film that's approachable by most people. Whereas this film here is it's more in that artsy fartsy kind of,
Sure.
high art type, direction. Whereas this is one that I can say can definitely recommend to a lot of people. This is one that I would cautiously recommend, in
Sure.
the sense that if you're not into that type of thing, this film may not be for you, But, if you're into, exploring different types of cinema, then definitely check this one out. This is from the Czech New Wave. It's from Vera Chittilova. And it's another example of, in the special features, you do learn a little bit more about this filmmaker, because I had never heard of Vera Chittilova before and had never seen any films from the Czech New Wave. So it was sort of an introduction for me to that form of cinema. So part of it is a protest of sort of communist oppression at that time, you know, based on what was going on politically in that area of the world. So it's definitely opening my eyes to a little bit of that history. So that's part of what I like about some of these Criterion releases, is just learning a little bit more about that type of thing. So
Yeah.
so found that really, really interesting. And then last night after the Georgia Bulldogs game, they beat Mississippi State 45-19. They're still the number one team in the country. Hopefully going to repeat as national champions, which you'll see. But I turned this on La Llorona, which is from Guatemala, from Jairo Bustamante. I turned this on for a few minutes and then I fell asleep. So because it was just late at night. I haven't had a chance to finish it, but I
Yeah.
will probably finish this horror, political gothic tale maybe tonight. We'll
Nice.
see.
I was
So
talking
yeah,
to KB the other day, and
yeah,
we
Mr. KB.
Mr. KB, and my family makes fun of me because when we go to the movie theater, there's like a 90% chance I'm falling asleep at some point. It does not matter what the film is. Um,
Yeah,
the lights go
yeah.
down low, an incredibly comfortable chair. No one's asking me questions, and I'm just out. And so,
Yeah,
yeah. So I starting movies late at night doesn't help me either. So
yeah. Yeah, and it was like 11 o'clock, and I was like, very little chance I'm going to get through this, and I was right. So
nice. Well, great picks, man. I'm enjoying writing these lists down from all these conversations. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah. All right. Number two. What was the first Criterion film that you purchased or you remember watching?
Okay, so I think I started collecting Criterion, I think around 2013. And I've told people this before that for me, I think my very first Criterion is this film right here,
Oh
Blowout.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got this from Costco when Costco used to stock a few Criterions. They would carry like 4 or 5 Criterion titles, and they would sell them for like 19.99. And
Wow.
at that time I picked up Blowout from Costco. I also picked up Seven Samurai from Costco for 19.99, which is
Unbelievable.
it's like a a $50 title full price. So half is like 25 at Barnes and Noble during the sale, but Costco was selling it for 19.99 at the time. So I picked it up for that.
Amazing.
But I saw this and I was intrigued by the cover, John Travolta. And it's like, what is going on in this movie? The cover just kind of pulled me in. I had no idea what it was about. I didn't know anything about Criterion. I just thought the cover looked cool and I picked it up. And that was my entry point into Criterion. So this is the original Blu-ray that I got. I also got the 4K recently that came out, and it is wonderful. So I
Hmm.
did a review of the 4K on my channel a little bit ago, and basically, in terms of whether or not if you already, because the question for a lot of people is if you already own this Blu-ray, is it worth the upgrade to 4K? And what I said is that it depends on if how much you love this movie. If you really love this movie like I do, this is really one of my favorite additions in the entire collection, hands down, period. So for someone like myself, it is absolutely worth it because the picture quality is a step up. The 4K is beautiful. It is the best this film has ever looked on home video. It is a step up from this Blu-ray, but this Blu-ray hangs in there really strong. I mean, this is a really
Hmm.
nice Blu-ray. I was actually surprised that the uptick to the 4K was not as big. It was not bigger, and
Okay.
that's the testament to how good this Blu-ray is.
Wow.
But the 4K is a nicer picture. It is a noticeably nicer picture. And I would say if you really love this film like I do, definitely worth the upgrade. But if you're more of a casual, fan, you like this movie, but you don't necessarily love it, and you already have this, then I would say it's probably not worth it for a person in that category to double dip. Just stick with your
Sure.
Blu-ray. And then if you happen to be someone that has never owned this, you don't have this Blu-ray, then it's a no-brainer. Get the 4K during
Okay.
this Barnes and Noble sale for sure. It is wonderful. But this is my first Criterion, I believe, and then Seven Samurai, and then Thief.
Oh wow.
These are like some of my early Criterion. This is James Caan. They recently passed James Caan, the late
Hmm.
great Mr. Caan. Have you heard of this film?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Michael Mann. It inspired Heat,
Hmm.
and I would love to see Criterion do a 4K of this release. It has a nice soundtrack from Tangerine Dream on this, so great atmosphere, great movie. It inspired Thief. It inspired uh, Heat, and I think Drive as well.
Oh
So
cool.
really, really nice atmosphere. James Caan's a thief in this, of course, and he he is trying to get out of the game, but he's being pulled in for one last job. So good. So I love this. Blowout is John Travolta in one of his best
Yeah.
performances, and he stars in you see all this equipment here. This is audio equipment, and he's a movie sound man. So he works for a sort of a B grade movie studio. He's the audio technician or the sound man, and he's working on a movie. And the director tells him, I am sick of these old audio tracks. I want some new sound, get some new wind, get some new sound effects. And so he goes out and records new sound effects. And when he's out there, he ends up recording a blowout of a tire, which is part of a political assassination car going off a bridge, killing a prominent politician. And so there's a conspiracy around that. John Travolta's pulled into that along with Nancy Allen, who was tangled up in it. John Lithgow is the bad guy who is involved, and it is this to this day, this is one of my favorite Criterions. It is
Wow.
so good. Highly recommended. Blowout. This Spine 562 is the very first Criterion I got, and to this day, it's one of my favorites. So love this one.
Nice. That's one in the
Yes.
first probably year and a half of collecting Criterion I didn't hear a ton about, but in this last year, yeah, it seems like there's a big resurgence, probably with the release of the 4K, but just this
Yes.
resurgence of this, you know, people holding this film in high regard and then recommending other people see the film. So I've heard a lot more about it.
Yeah. So circling back to your question before the five, if someone asked for, oh, what's the recommendation? I should have just said this right here, right here. This is
There
your
you go.
recommendation right here. Pick this one up. It is fantastic. Blowout on 4K.
Nice. Very good. All right. Your third question is what Criterion film has had the greatest impact on you emotionally, worldview, life perspective?
I would say, and I think I mentioned this before on a previous when I was on with you before. I would say definitely the first film from this Apu
Yeah.
trilogy series. So this is the Apu trilogy. It's a trilogy of films from India, from director Satyajit Ray, who has a number of films in the collection. This is, of course, about the Apu trilogy, and this is the character Apu here. And there's three films: Pather Panchali, Aparahito, and Apur Sansar. It follows the life of this young man as he matures from being a little boy to being a young adult, and it's a life filled with challenges and adversities and tragedies. And the first film in this is Pather Panchali, which is really, really good. And it really affected me emotionally in the sense of just seeing the struggles of his family and seeing his mother and his sister and kind of what they went through. And just some of the scenes in this movie are very, very impactful in terms of really pulling you in emotionally to what's going on with these characters. So a lot of tragedy, but it shows this young man sort of navigating life and dealing with a lot of adversity as a young boy, growing up, getting married, starting a family of his own. And it's really, really something else. But it starts with Pather Panchali, Song of the Little Road, and it concludes with Apur Sansar, The World of Apu. Haven't seen these in a while, but I need to revisit them. But they're definitely emotionally impactful for sure. So
Those films have been
really
on my
deep stuff.
radar. They've been on my radar
Really
for a
deep stuff.
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't picked it up yet, but you and I think Nathan Jones have both mentioned uh,
Okay.
that trilogy. And so it's something
Yeah.
I need to see.
It's a good one. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I like that one. And then another one, I'll give you a little bonus here, is I Daniel Blake. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
this here, you may have heard of this one. Is from Ken Loach. It basically deals with this is and this is like dealing with the British social system. So Daniel Blake is a man who is retired. He's trying to, you know, get through to the people in the government to, you know, collect on his benefits for his retirement, and just seeing the struggle that he's going through, and just trying to get someone on the phone that can help him, that can, you know, get him the benefits that he has worked so hard to get, and just the struggle of trying to make it in society. He ends up crossing paths with a young lady who is a single mother, has got two kids, and just her struggles, just trying to make it. And there are some really incredibly impactful scenes in here about, you know, people dealing with hunger, people dealing with uh, just a lot of challenges around what lengths will you go to meet the needs of your family and meet the needs of your children. So really powerful. I
Wow.
Daniel Blake. So that one's a really good one.
Okay. And with the Apu trilogy, that's definitely a title that you would want to pick up in a sale like this, a 50% off
Yes.
sale.
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Cool.
Oh yeah, man.
All right. Well, number
Yeah,
four.
it's that time, you know, it's sale. It's the time to pick up some of these titles for sure, you know.
Man, I started this one. I thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be very conservative. I'm gonna go with three titles. And I'm gonna stick to the sale. I'm gonna land on
That's the
three.
way to go. That's the way
And,
to go.
but it's just not going to happen. I've already the list ballooned to 5, and I'm looking at the list. It's at 8 now, and
Oh no.
conversations I'm having with everyone, I'm literally there's just so many films I'm writing down that I'm like,
Okay.
so I mean, I'm not going to pick them all up, but
Right.
it's certainly going to exceed 3.
Oh yeah. Yeah, be selective and less is more and kind of thing. And the good thing is that most of these titles they're still going to be there. They're going to be there in
True.
July. They're going to be there, I think Criterion will probably have a flash sale in February. So they're going to be there.
Yeah. So initially it was going the 3 titles I was going to pick up were The Lady Eve, My Man Godfrey, and now
Mm,
Voyager. I'm a big fan of 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, but
yep.
I ended up I put all those down the list a bit, and the first 2 I picked up were Buck and the Preacher and
Oh,
My Dinner with Andre. Those are the 2 I actually ended up picking up. There you go.
yeah.
So those are the first 2 I picked up. I wanted to kind of
So good.
expand my horizons a bit because my collection
Oh.
is very dominant in the 30s, 40s.
Mm.
So I'm very excited. I did get those for Christmas, so I can't touch them for about a month and a half, but
Okay.
looking forward to them.
Okay, so you have not seen this yet, but yeah,
No.
this is what I've loved about this edition was, of course, the movie is good, but you get so much insight into Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. I mean, you really learn about a lot about these 2 men and their struggle and their
Mhm.
long-term friendship. That alone, the interviews that are included in here alone are worth it, even beyond the movie itself. Even if the movie itself wasn't on here, those interviews with these 2 men would be worth it. But of course, the movie, of course, is important. But
Sure.
it's a really good film. Is Sidney Poitier's directorial debut. They talk a lot about some of the challenges and the story behind him directing. Being the director of this film and what that meant and this is a really good addition, great addition from Criterion. So I'm glad you picked that one up.
Yeah. Well, I remember you because you did a full video on it.
I
And
did.
I
Yep.
remember you just raving about the special
Yeah.
features.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
can't wait to dive into that one.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome. Next question for you is what Criterion film? I wouldn't say any of these are underrated. If they're in the collection, they're highly regarded films. But is there one that you would say we all hear about Seven Samurai, 12 Angry Men, Miller's Crossing? Is there one that you would say I don't hear people talk about this film, and more people should definitely check it out?
Yeah, I would say one of my absolute favorites that I've had for a while there's a couple. One that I've had for a while and one that's was released this year, and that's this one here, Medium Cool.
Okay.
This is a film from director uh, and cinematographer Haskell Wexler, and it is from 1969, and it deals with life in America in 1968, which was one of the most tumultuous years in American history. I mean, America was on fire in 1968. I wasn't around then, but it was a very tumultuous period in American history because you had, of course, the civil rights movement going on. You had a lot of social evolution going on. You had, of course, a couple of notable assassinations with the
Mhm.
assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., Robert Kennedy. You had the election going on in 1968, Lyndon Johnson saying, I'm not going to run. Um, and this movie takes place in Chicago, 1968, during the Democratic National Convention. And it is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's got Robert Forster in here and Verna Bloom. Robert Forster plays a TV man, and he's reporting on the events of the day. Verna Bloom is a single mother who their lives intersect, and there's so much in the way of social commentary in this film that's around that time in 1968, race relations, political situations, the whole social climate. I just love this movie. It is a fantastic. It looks great from a picture standpoint in terms
Mhm.
of the images that you're seeing, but it puts you in that world of 1968, and you feel like you're there. The music, the culture, the social issues. It just puts you right there in 1968, and I love this movie. The music is fantastic, and it's just one of the best additions in Criterion. You know, if there was a fire and I can only save, of course, after you saving all the people, and if I can only save like two Criterion additions, it would be these two right here.
Wow.
So that is how much I love both of these editions. So
Wow.
medium cool is so well, it's so cool. I mean, it is one of the best editions, and you never hear anyone talk about this one,
No.
but I love medium cool. It's so good. Robert Forster, he recently passed away, I believe, and Haskell Wexler, um, you know, did was the director, and it's fantastic. The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. So great piece, and it covers, a period in American history that was really, the country was in a lot of upheaval in 1968.
Hmm.
So
Wow. I never heard that film, so I've
yeah,
got it on my
it's spine
list.
number it's spine number 658, and it is absolutely fantastic.
All
It's
right.
fantastic.
Very
I
good.
would love to see it get a 4K, because it's a restored 4K digital transfer. So if this gets released on 4K, it will be absolute for me. This is an example, like I said before. If you love the film, it's worth a double dip. There would be no question. I would immediately double dip on this one if it came
Wow.
out on 4K. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. And then the last question for you is, what Criterion film brings you the most joy, hope, laughter, puts a smile on your face?
Well, I had to think about that one, and I guess for for that one, I thought, well, which one would fit that category? And I came up with one that came out last year that I did a review on as well, Fast Times
Oh
at
yeah.
Ridgemont High. So this is a film that I've heard of for a number of years, of course, but I had never seen it until I got this Criterion edition, and I really enjoyed this movie. I really just dug the characters. I dug Spicoli, played by Sean Penn, and his interaction with Mr. Hand. I think his name is Mr. Hand in this. I think, and it's just a funny movie. But I was really moved by how it was a lot deeper than I thought this movie would
Okay.
be. But I appreciated some of the funny moments with Spicoli in here, and the soundtrack is a banger, absolutely fantastic. So really enjoyed the soundtrack, but I enjoyed some of the funny moments with Jeff Spicoli, played by Sean Penn, and Mr. Hand, and in this film. So I definitely dug this movie for that purpose.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
great, man. Thank you so much for sharing your picks.
Yeah, yeah. Another underrated title I forgot to mention was, and I mentioned one that was older, which was Medium Cool, but then one that just came out this year that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, that I think is probably flying under people's radars. If you like music and you like concert type films, The Last Waltz on 4K
Okay.
is amazing. Okay, if you like a nice concert film, it's directed by Martin Scorsese, and it's from 1978, and it covers this group called the Band, and one of their last concerts. And Martin Scorsese was tapped to basically direct this film around it, and it is a beautifully cinematic concert, and of course Martin Scorsese directed it,
Sure.
so just his choice of what type of film to use and his approach to making this film and the camera angles and the camera movement. It is a beautiful film. And this is on 4K Ultra HD.
Okay.
And it looks amazing on 4K. It sounds great. It is an absolute, beautiful presentation all the way around. And if you like music, which I believe you're a big music person,
Yeah.
and if you like a good concert film, definitely consider The Last Waltz. It is a treat. It's fantastic.
Nice.
So yeah.
I just watched the other night. It was Madison Square Garden, filmed over 2 days. Crossroads, Eric Clapton's Crossroads, the guitar
Oh,
festival, and I believe it was the first time Gary Clark Jr. Played at that festival. And I was
oh,
planning on putting it on in the background and doing work at the house. and I ended up sitting like on the floor in front of the TV watching the entire 2-disc show. So if
Oh
you're a music
wow.
fan, highly recommend that. It was beautifully done. And
Crossroads, you said?
Crossroads, yeah,
Okay.
with Eric Clapton. And for me, the highlight was, I don't know if you've listened much to Gary Clark Jr. That guy,
No.
you should check him out. He is unbelievable. And watching him at the beginning of his career play there, just so
Hmm.
powerful, so good.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
That is cool.
So highly recommend it.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, James, I don't want to hold you up, but this is great. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, thank you for having me.
Well, friends, if you're watching this, James and I actually had a much longer conversation about 25 films he would recommend. And you should check that out, and I'll put that below. And if you have not subscribed to James' channel, James, you just have constantly putting up great content. And your channel is growing quickly, and you're putting up stuff even on a more regular basis. Because I'm following you for quite a little while now. And
Okay.
you've been putting up a lot of content. And so really good stuff. You're bringing
Thank
in
you. I appreciate it.
you and KB, one of the things you guys are both doing right now that I'm really loving is you're bringing in people into some of your live streams and conversations who I've never seen their content, their channels. And so I'm being introduced to new people in the community through your channel and
Oh,
have
cool.
really enjoyed that. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So, friends, subscribe and follow Instagram and YouTube. You just get great content, man. So, I'm always enjoy it when you post new stuff. So,
Well, I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you having me. And, you know, it's the most wonderful time of the year, Criterion sales going on. And just can't believe how fast the year has gone by. But,
I
you know, it's
know.
been great. But I really do appreciate you having me.
Great.
It's
Well,
good
thank
stuff.
you again, James. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Yeah. Same to you. Thank you,
All
John.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.